Back on Newsmaker Saturday, joined now by Arizona Governor Doug Ducey. Great to see you. We just spoke to your opponent. We started with education, and I asked him, you know, with a $10 billion budget in this state, and $5 billion of it roughly spent on K through 12, is that not enough to educate 1.1 million kids?
Well, I do think we need more in terms of K-12 education. I want to see more resources to get inside our classrooms. But, you know, I've been here now almost 4 years. And I think if you look at Prop 123, the extension of Prop 301, the fact that we've been able to bring teachers' academies to life, and in this last session get a 20% pay increase for our teachers by school year 2020, we're off to a really good start. We've got those lawsuits behind us. I do believe there's more to do, but I think we've got to work within our growing economy. I want to have a great education system and a growing economy in a state that people are attracted to come to.
You and your opponent disagree over school choice. You're a big fan of it. Tell me your philosophy on school choice. He definitely thinks that it could erode public schools, traditional public schools, district schools.
Well, I care about all of our kids, 1.1 million children in our school system in Arizona. So whether it's public districts or public charters, I think choice has been good for Arizona. We've seen what's happened with our public charters. It's improved our entire system. Arizona students are leading the nation in improvement in math and reading today. And then when we talk about educational savings accounts, I used the example of, you know, a young man named Jordan who's got cerebral palsy and autism. Without his ESA, his mom wouldn't be able to access the educational therapy. The great story of the young man who scored 2 touchdowns. He's blind playing freshman football. His ESA pays for his Braille books.
Education, empowerment, scholarship.
My opponent would take these options away. So I want to see choices for our parents and an improving school system.
So you're a yes on Prop 305?
I'm a yes on Prop 305.
Even though some of the supporters of the opponents of 305 are actually people who, they like choice, but they don't think it goes far enough because it's capped at 0.5%. Well, in the entire state who could take advantage of it.
Well, the law that I signed would allow 5,000 kids for the next 6 years. I like to believe that you can prove a policy out. You can demonstrate that it works. That's what we've been able to do with the original educational savings accounts. That's what Jordan Visser is benefiting from, and the other young man that I talked about. And there's other kids that don't fall into these special populations. So I want parents to have options, and I want our parents to be able to send their kid where they think they should go to school. What's the best option?
Let's talk about the Red for Ed. It was a seminal moment in this education. Some would call it a crisis in Arizona. This scene, it was right outside of your office. You could see it from the 9th floor. Did we need to get to that point? Take me back through the timeline for a second. Did you not offer to give them a 20% raise? Yes, you were pressured to do it, and you went there. You said, look, I'm going to do this for you guys. Did you ever contact the leadership and say, listen, I'm going to do this. I'm going to try to get it done, but don't walk out. And if you walk out, all bets are off.
Well, we were talking with teachers the entire time, and we were talking with superintendents as well. Now, John, that's not the way I talk to teachers. I'm on the side of the teachers.
I know
want to work
you've said that over and over, but some people thought you actually should have been a little bit more, for lack of a better word, Trumpian, and said, hey, listen, guys, I'm trying to make this happen for you, but if you pull this, all bets are off.
Well, I knew I could make it happen for them, and I think it's important to remember, you know, not that long ago, 3 years ago, we had a $1 billion budget deficit in this state. So I think the teachers earned and deserved this, but it's because of the booming economy that we have, and we did present the pay increase before the walkout happened, but it was really the activists and the organizers, the lawyers and the unions, not the teachers, but those folks said you have to walk out to get the pay raise because the governor's not going to be able to deliver. I'm proud that we were able to deliver, but I had to work with legislative leadership and people on both sides of that aisle. I mean, Steve Farley voted yes on the 20% pay increase, and my opponent,
former candidate for governor, who lost
my
to
opponent
Garcia.
told people to vote no on it.
Right. Okay, so during all of this, you have made comments in the past that you said really this was all about the ballot initiative, which just got washed off by the state Supreme Court. The Invest in Ed initiative. You thought it was about that in the bottom line. They really did want to walk out, and they wanted to push this initiative.
Well, I wanted to get the raise to the teachers, but the union and the activists, not the teachers.
You see these as two separate entities, don't you?
Well, for certain. I mean, we need the teachers, and they're doing great work. But we've also, you can't take the politics out of politics, and the union and the activists, they wanted to double state income tax, create 2 new brackets, right. But it was written in a misleading way. And now my opponent has no education plan. I mean, that was his plan, was to double taxes and to bring those dollars in. What I've said is we've got $420 million in our general fund right now. The CBO shows a $1.5 billion growth in our revenues over the next 5 years. Let's use those existing dollars, bring them into K-12, get them in the classroom. But we've got roads and bridges and infrastructure.
I was going to ask you, what do you do with the surplus? What do you do with it?
Well, it's a nice issue to have, right? We haven't had that in some time here in Arizona. So I want to make sure that we're making good decisions, that we've got a growing education system, we're rewarding our teachers. But with a growing state, you've got to take care of roads and bridges and infrastructure. And we have public safety needs as well. Our Department of Public Safety, we want to make sure that we're protecting what's happening in southern Arizona with drug cartels and human trafficking.
We'll get to the border in a minute. David Garcia, your opponent in the earlier segment, he said, listen, if we don't get this education thing figured out, nothing happens. The state won't grow. You can't attract business. It's a drag on the whole system. He was talking a little bit about charters in that mix, saying that if you really try to push charters and let other private kind of schooling creep in, it will undermine traditional public schools, and he says you'll have a system of haves and have-nots.
Well, first, I want to see our education system continue to improve, and its resources and its reforms. But I really get sick of these people that keep dumping on Arizona and want to play this blame Arizona first game. We're the fastest growing county in the country right now in Maricopa County. We've had 300 companies that have moved here. We've had 230,000 private sector jobs. These businesses are coming here because they know that their owners and their employees can access an excellent education. It's just that in too many parts of our states, they can't do that. That's where the achievement gap is. That's our high free and reduced lunch areas. That's our tribal nations. That's why we've tried to take dollars and target them where we can close that achievement gap to benefit all of our children.
Would you say that based on what we spend in Arizona, because we keep looking at it as a dollars issue, if you spend this much, you'll be here in your ranking, doesn't the taxpayer deserve a return on investment?
Absolutely.
And have you not argued that given what we're spending, we're actually getting a pretty good result with recent test results?
And I give credit to our teachers because we are getting a return on this investment. And now
nobody talks about this because the taxpayers are owed a return on this.
Oh, they are owed a return. The kids are owed a return, and our teachers are delivering on that return. That's why I want to reward them. But now we're going to see that $1 invested in the K-12 education can be measured by 4th and 8th grade math, reading and science, high school completion, career and technical education, going to our universities, and then an economy where a kid actually has skills when they graduate that they can take to the marketplace.
Quick thing on border. You've talked about border security. Is that something the state police, DPS, should be involved in?
Oh, absolutely. The Border Strike Force
is not just a Fed issue.
Oh, it's not just a Fed issue. I mean, especially as a border state. And with the drug cartels and the human trafficking and the child sex trafficking, to have our state troopers working with our border sheriffs and local law enforcement and partnering with our federal government, that's why we've been able to interdict so many of these dangerous, poisonous drugs that would be in our high schools or on campuses or in our neighborhood. And there's a lot more left to do there, John.
This issue has come up that the sheriffs of Yuma and Santa Cruz County say DPS isn't patrolling the border midnight to 6 a.m.
There's law enforcement in the state of Arizona 24/7.
Whether it's DPS or not.
Yeah, and we've wanted to take the Border Strike Force and focus on the drug cartels, on the bad guys. So we want to bring back more dollars into the Department of Public Safety, and we'll have more people, I guess, writing more traffic tickets. But the cartels, the drug trafficking, the child sex trafficking, those are the things that are really harming our citizens and our country, and that's what the Border Strike Force is focused on.
I asked David Garcia. We've got Lake Mead at a tipping point. I mean, if it gets much lower, CAP may not have its full quotient of water. What would you do in a case where Lake Mead could not deliver what we need?
Well, we're actually acting on water right now. Arizona's in a pretty solid position around water. It's part of the reason that I asked Senator John Kyle to go back to Washington to fill the irreplaceable
alarming.
senator in John McCain. But we're also working with our federal government on a drought contingency plan so that the state of Arizona speaks with one voice on water. We're very good at this. We're better than anybody else at the United States. We need a reform in this next legislative session, and then we're going to start talking about a generational project.
There has to be a rationale for a politician to run. There has to be a reason, not just to win the office, but for you, a second term. What is it? What is the rationale for people watching right now to re-elect Doug Ducey?
I want to secure Arizona's future. I came into office with a $1 billion budget deficit. I said that I wanted to kickstart our economy, that I wanted to restore our K-12 education system. The Arizona Republic endorsed me as Arizona's governor for tough times. Well, we've navigated through tough times.
During the primary, right?
Yeah, and now we want to build on this momentum. I have an opponent that wants to make us a carbon copy of California, wants to double your income taxes. What I want to do is make sure that we're secure financially, that our schools and neighborhoods are safer, and that our borders are safer, and that Arizona continue to grow to be the state that so many people around the country want to call home.
Final question, what's job one right now for you?
Well, for me, it's always going to be a combination of education, economy, and public safety. As a chief executive, you have to have a balance in these priorities.
Good to see you, Governor.
Thanks, John.
Great to see you. Best of luck in November, and love to have you back.
Thank you. Appreciate it.